This photograph, taken in 1891, captures Adolf Hitler as an infant in Austria. At this moment, he was simply a child, far removed from the man who would later plunge the world into war and infamy. Seeing Hitler as a baby is unsettling because it challenges our perception. History's most notorious dictator began life as an innocent, like any other child. No one could have foreseen that this tiny boy would one day shape the course of the 20th century with devastation and terror. This image serves as a stark reminder of how history's darkest figures often have the most ordinary beginnings. This rare photograph captures two legends from different worlds: Pelé, the king of football, and U.S. Senator Robert F. Kennedy. The image radiates a sense of optimism from the 1960s, a time when sports and politics intertwined to inspire hope and unity. Pelé, still wrapped in a towel after a match, stands proudly next to Kennedy, who would later become a symbol of progress and tragedy. Their meeting reflects more than just fame. It represents two figures committed to changing lives. One through the beauty of the game, the other through the fight for justice. It's a fleeting moment frozen in time, yet it echoes decades of ambition, charisma, and cultural influence. In 1923, safety was still a gamble. This striking photo shows two men engaged in one of the most dangerous demonstrations imaginable, testing an early bulletproof vest. With calm determination, the man on the left braces himself as a live round is fired directly into his chest. There were no computer models, no advanced simulations, just raw courage and trust in the new technology. These experiments paved the way for the modern ballistic armor that saves countless lives today. It's a chilling reminder of the lengths innovators once went to prove their inventions, sometimes literally putting their lives on the line for progress. Picture a steel beam dangling 800 feet above New York City. In this iconic 1932 photograph, a group of construction workers casually share lunch. No safety harnesses, just lunchboxes and bold camaraderie. As they balance between clouds and the chaos below, the city's skyline was still being born around them. These men were the backbone of modernity, risking everything to build the towers that define our world. Each bite of their sandwich was taken with trust and gravity, in each other, and in the American dream. Today, this image is more than a photo. It's a monument to grit, ambition, and an era when skyscrapers were climbed rather than built. Step into 1929, the birth of Hollywood's grandest tradition, the first Academy Awards. No flashing cameras, no global broadcasts, just 270 guests gathered in the Blossom Room of the Roosevelt Hotel. The atmosphere? Elegant, intimate, a secret among stars. Winners were announced months in advance, and the ceremony lasted only 15 minutes. That night, the Dream Factory of cinema crowned its pioneers, unaware they were shaping a legacy that would captivate the world for a century. From this modest gathering emerged an empire of golden statuettes, red carpets, and timeless moments. This photo is the quiet beginning of Hollywood's loudest night, a reminder that legends often start small. Berlin, 1936. A stadium draped in Nazi flags, a regime preaching racial supremacy. And then, Jesse Owens steps onto the track, a Black American athlete, carrying nothing but speed and defiance. With every stride, he shatters Hitler's illusion, winning not one, but 4 gold medals. This photo freezes the moment a man outran hate and humiliated a dictatorship before the eyes of the world. Owens didn't just win races, he rewrote history. A silent, powerful reminder. Greatness knows no color, no borders, no chains. From that starting line in Berlin, Jesse Owens sprinted into immortality. His victory wasn't just athletic, it was a triumph of humanity. 1940. 2 men pose for a photograph that would become a symbol of destruction. On the left, Benito Mussolini, the Italian dictator. On the right, Adolf Hitler, the architect of the deadliest war in human history. This image marks the Axis alliance, a pact that promised domination and delivered devastation. Together, they ignited flames that consumed nations, costing millions of lives and reshaping the world forever. But behind this cold, staged portrait lies hubris, fear, and a future they couldn't control. Both believed they would reign for 1,000 years. Instead, this alliance ended in ruin, a chilling reminder that power built on tyranny always collapses. In 1907, one woman dared to defy the rules. Her name? Annette Kellerman. At a time when women were forced into heavy, full-body swim dresses, Annette stepped onto a beach in a sleek one-piece swimsuit and was immediately arrested for indecency. Imagine the shock, the whispers, the outrage. But what seemed like a scandal became a spark for change. This photo captures the exact moment fashion collided with freedom. Annette wasn't just fighting for style. She was fighting for women to move, to swim, to breathe. What started as a crime turned into a revolution that changed swimwear and society forever. So next time you see a swimsuit, remember this. Progress often begins with one brave choice and the courage to break the rules. Would you have stood with her or judged her? History had its answer. This is the only known photograph of a living quagga, taken in 1870 at the London Zoo. At first glance, it looks like a zebra, but something feels different. And you're right. The quagga was a rare subspecies of the plains zebra, with stripes only on the front half of its body, fading into a plain brown back. Sadly, by the late 19th century, hunting and habitat loss drove this animal to extinction. This haunting image is more than just a curiosity, it's a warning from the past. Imagine standing in front of this creature, unaware that you were witnessing the last of its kind. How many species will share the quagga's fate before we act? One photo, one life, one reminder that once something is gone, it's gone forever. Would you fight to save it if you had the chance? June 28, 1914. This photograph captures Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife, Sophie, moments before their assassination in Sarajevo, a single act that would ignite World War I. They sit in an open car, unaware that destiny is only minutes away. One bullet, two lives, and the collapse of empires. Within hours, Europe was a ticking time bomb, alliances locking into place, dragging nations into the deadliest conflict the world had ever seen. Think about it. This quiet moment in the photo is the calm before a storm that killed over 16 million people. It's chilling to realize that history's greatest catastrophes often start with something as small as a trigger pull. One shot changed the 20th century forever. Looking at this image, can you feel the weight of that moment? Would history have been different if that car had taken another turn? September 15, 1954. New York City streets froze as Marilyn Monroe stepped over a subway grate, and history was made in a single gust of wind. The white dress, billowing high under the city lights, wasn't just a playful moment. It was a cultural earthquake. Cameras flashed, crowds roared, and an icon was born. But behind the laughter and glamour was tension. This scene would shake her marriage and fuel endless controversy. Think about it. What was meant to be a simple movie shot turned into one of the most legendary images of the 20th century. It's not just a dress, it's rebellion, confidence, and vulnerability all in one frame. Today, decades later, this moment still defines what it means to be unforgettable. Would you believe this single shot almost never happened? High above New York City in 1914, 10 men dangle fearlessly from the cables of the Brooklyn Bridge, painting history one stroke at a time. No safety harnesses, no nets, just raw courage and steady hands balancing over a 276-foot drop. The skyline behind them hints at a growing metropolis, but these men? They're suspended between life and death, their silhouettes etched against the sky like a dare to gravity itself. This wasn't just maintenance. It was survival in an era when danger was part of the job description. Every brushstroke was a gamble, every step a dance with fate. And here's the twist. This iconic photograph wasn't staged, it captured reality. Today, we scroll past viral stunts. But ask yourself, could you do this with nothing but rope beneath your feet? This is more than a picture. It's a snapshot of grit, ambition, and a time when men literally hung by a thread to build America's future. In this photo, a confident smile hides a storm of daring ambition. The year is 1930, and Amelia Earhart grips the door of a Hemingway aircraft, ready to rewrite history. Aviation wasn't a place for women. At least, that's what the world believed. Earhart shattered that belief, defying danger and prejudice in equal measure. Every flight she took wasn't just about the sky. It was a fight for equality, a bold declaration that courage has no gender. Imagine the silence before takeoff, the weight of countless eyes doubting her, and then the roar of the engine cutting through it all. This picture isn't just a pose. It's the calm before a revolution. Amelia didn't just fly planes. She flew against time, fear, and society itself. And the question that lingers? What would you risk to prove the impossible? Because she risked everything and became immortal. In 1826, at dawn in rural France, a man named Joseph Nicephore-Niepce stood patiently behind a primitive camera obscura, pointing it at his courtyard, and captured the first photograph in human history. It took hours of exposure, sunlight slowly etching the scene onto a pewter plate covered in light-sensitive bitumen. The result? A grainy, ghostly image. The rooftops, the stone walls, even the faint outline of a chimney. No people, no movement. Because life was literally paused for the photo to exist. This isn't just a picture, it's the birth of visual memory. The moment humanity discovered how to trap time in an image. Think about that. A single glance at this grainy snapshot connects us to over 190 years of visual history, from daguerreotypes to digital pixels. Every photograph you've ever seen traces back to this daring experiment. It's a reminder that progress often begins with a silent, solitary moment. And the courage to imagine what hasn't been seen. Imagine the dusty roads of Athens in 1896, where history was reborn with every pounding step. This photo captures the very first marathon of the modern Olympic Games, a race that revived an ancient legend. These runners weren't just athletes. They were pioneers, racing not for fame or sponsorships, but for glory and honor. No fancy gear, no hydration stations, just grit, determination, and the will to endure. Picture the silence of the countryside, broken only by heavy breaths and rhythmic footsteps, as they chased a distance inspired by a Greek soldier's fateful run from Marathon to Athens centuries before. This image isn't just about sport. It's about the rebirth of a global tradition, the spark that ignited the Olympic flame we know today. Every marathon medal ever won, every cheer at the finish line, traces back to this dirt road, these men, and this extraordinary moment. Paris, 1921. A silent revolution is underway, a contest that would forever change the pace of the modern world, the first typewriter competition. In this photo, a young woman sits with unwavering focus, her fingers dancing across the keys of a machine that symbolizes progress. The stakes were high, speed and accuracy meant everything, and these competitors were the rock stars of their era, celebrated for a skill we take for granted today. Around her, men in tailored suits observe with curiosity, unaware they're witnessing the dawn of a new profession that would open doors for women in offices worldwide. Every keystroke echoed the promise of efficiency, equality, and innovation. This was more than a contest. It was the birth of a cultural shift, one that would propel us into a world where information could travel faster than ever before. Would you have had the nerves to compete? South Dakota, 1930s. Hanging from ropes hundreds of feet above the ground, workers risked their lives to carve what would become one of America's most iconic landmarks, Mount Rushmore. With nothing but drills, dynamite, and raw determination, they chipped away at solid granite to bring the faces of Washington, Jefferson, Roosevelt, and Lincoln to life. There were no high-tech safety measures, no modern machinery. Just men clinging to sheer cliffs, battling wind and dust, shaping history one strike at a time. Every groove in this stone tells a story of grit, ambition, and an audacious dream to immortalize democracy in the Black Hills. Few knew the danger, fewer cared. They weren't just building a monument, they were carving America's identity. Would you dare hang there, with history quite literally in your hands? Scotland, 1934. A single photograph shook the world, the infamous Loch Ness Monster image. Grainy, mysterious, and eerily convincing, it ignited a global obsession. Was it a prehistoric creature lurking in the depths, a remnant of the ancient past defying extinction? Newspapers spread the story like wildfire, and skeptics clashed with believers in heated debates. Scientists searched for answers while adventurers flocked to the misty waters of Loch Ness, hoping for a glimpse of the unknown. Decades later, the truth behind the surgeon's photograph revealed a shocking twist. It was a hoax. Yet, the legend endured. Why? Because deep down, we crave mystery, the possibility that something extraordinary might still exist just beyond our reach. Would you dare stare into those dark waters, knowing what might be looking back? She stood where the world stared, Sandy Allen, the tallest woman alive, towering at 7 feet 7 inches. This photo from the 1970s isn't just a snapshot. It's a moment that made people stop in their tracks. Imagine walking down a boardwalk, only to look up and keep looking up. Sandy's presence was awe-inspiring, but her life wasn't just about height. It was about resilience. Living with gigantism brought endless medical challenges, yet she chose to embrace her uniqueness, becoming an advocate for body positivity long before it was a trend. Her shirt boldly reads, "I like short people," a touch of humor from a woman who turned her difference into strength. In a world obsessed with fitting in, Sandy stood tall, literally and figuratively, reminding us that what makes us different can also make us unforgettable. Would you have dared to stand beside her for this legendary photo?